Hi, and welcome to the Elevate podcast series, which is in partnership with AdviseWise, the Equity Release Council, and Age Partnership. And today we're just going to be looking at the options for advisors who want to get involved in later life lending. So obviously we've spoke about later life lending and things like that. What are the options for advisors to get involved? What are the routes available for advisors? How do they get into it?
So I think as a headline to understanding and getting involved in this market, it's not all about writing. We're not here today to encourage you to go and get qualified and start servicing these customers yourself, right? So as an umbrella, maybe start discussions with, you can refer this type of business to a specialist, and we'd encourage you to look at that. Perhaps if you don't have the time or the skill set or the qualifications, you can partner with. So if you're perhaps early in your journey and you're on the route to getting qualified, but you want to learn best practice and some of the nuances, perhaps go along to meetings and partner with your introducers, and I'm sure they would welcome that two-way conversation. Then, of course, there's the other route, which is to get qualified. If you're looking to get employed into this market, perhaps you'd look at some of the large specialists. They have some amazing training academies, or perhaps some of the larger networks within the market as well. They have dedicated teams and resources for supporting later life conversations. But yeah, going into the exact qualifications, maybe let the guys add to that.
Yeah, I think the first thing to say is that you should be involved. It's not going away. It's getting bigger and bigger. And as we said in the last episode, £40 billion worth of property wealth will be released in 2040 and beyond. So if you're not looking at this now, that's a misstep. And another advisor will be. And a lot of the customers that I sadly spoke to, they've remortgaged, and then this is the next step in their borrowing journey. And to echo Dan's points, it's you don't have to write the business yourself if you don't want to, but you should have a base education on the types of products that are out there, and that'll give you an understanding of spotting customers to see if it fits for them, and then refer the business. It's good customer outcome, which is important under consumer duty, but also it's the right thing to do. And when I was managing large teams of introducers, that was a previous role, a lot of them would refer. They'd attend some of the meetings that you had, and then they'd go and get the qualification themselves. And so that's always a very good route to get into the market.
Yeah. How did you get into, but what was your journey?
My background is in mortgages generally at West, and some IFA brokerage as well. I really don't remember, to be honest, how it came about. There probably was a light bulb moment somewhere along the line, where chatting to somebody within who's done a sort of hybrid role, that made me think, actually, do you know what? That sounds a lot more interesting than your standard house related transaction. There's a lot more emotion involved. So the qualification process was quite easy, I found. And I think it's still quite relatively straightforward to get your CERER or whatever you need these days. So that's really how I came about, just wanting to expand really what I was capable of doing.
I suppose you don't want to get rid of any client that comes through your door, do you? You want to give them
right up front. Those days, yeah. Exactly. And to your point there, John, about the emotive aspect of it, it's writing standard mortgages is fantastic, and you're getting people onto the ladder in their first homes, and that's really cool. But helping older borrowers with an issue, or helping them clear interest-only mortgages before they lose their home, or helping them help their children onto the property ladder, that's loads of fun. And I think you said, John, before, it's not transactional. It's you're learning all about these customers, and then you're figuring out a solution for them, and there's no finer feather in the cap for me.
Yeah, I definitely get, from advisors I speak to across our business, and when I'm out there networking at events, it's extremely rewarding. These customers are an extension to your family. You treat them as if you are, or they are, your parents or grandparents, and it's incredibly rewarding to help them with their immediate needs. And sometimes the stories are quite sad, and I'm sure John's got perhaps some case studies that will be valuable to go through, and some real life customers. But yeah, it's very rewarding is probably the point to labour on that.
Yeah, I'll add to that as well with the latest consumer duty edition about outcomes for customers. You could argue that advisors are not salespeople anymore in some ways. They are advisors. They are actually giving quality advice for lifetime, for possibly a 30-year term, which can be revisited and repeated as often as possible. And I think that's one of the key things that's been brought in as a result of the standard changes by the council, plus also the consumer duty aspect. Huge strides forward to ensure that the client remains number one priority. You could argue that it may not have been always the case.
It's probably worth mentioning the entry routes for advisors listening to this session. So the traditional routes would be down the LIBF route, taking on CERER, and then the additional route to that would be the CII, which is the ER1 qualification. There are some legacy qualifications, but they're the kind of the starting points for you. And then just to shout out the council, I would encourage any advisors to reach out to some of these industry bodies, governing bodies, to help get those first steps in place.
Yeah, and I think it's always important to have a bit of a network around you of other advisors that are in that space that you can bounce ideas from or shadow or learn from.
Yeah. And I'll probably just emphasize the point that is just very much a starting point, right? It's like learning to drive a car. You pass your test, but you don't actually start learning until you're on the motorway at 2 a.m, or maybe that's just me and my role. But you really start learning through experience, through doing the do. So yeah, going back to those earlier points around partnering and referring, and just get involved in every way you can to help you understand and experience the market. Because the risk to advisors isn't talking about property wealth or perhaps overstepping and talking where they're not qualified. It's completely ignoring it and not being able to support or signpost your customer.
Yeah, I agree. And thanks for the plug about coming to the council. I think it's important. And what we do is build this collaborative approach so you can learn off other advisors, but also the providers and lenders in the market as well, which is really handy. And on a sort of advisor personal note, the opportunity is massive. There are 35,000 or so mortgage advisors in the country. I think it's just over 1,800 are equity release qualified. And, the needs and wants of customers are there. So, yeah, ignoring it is, it facilitates bad customer outcomes potentially, but also you're missing an opportunity to write more business.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Stay around for the next one.